I remember taking complex cloth as a workshop and a 1 week intensive at ProChem in Fall River with Jane. It was the first workshop I ever took, and it was at a pivotal point in my life where I wasn't sure if I was going to keep making art, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was new to fiber. And of all the people in the world, to land in a class with Jane Dunwald was like, it just, she blew my mind and melted my heart and galvanized me, and without trying to do it, set me on a path. What she presented in complex cloth, which is, you know, white cloth off the bolt, layering dye and paint and other surface design treatments, and developing a pleasing surface and creating cloth that could stand on its own as art, that did not need to be made into something else in order for it to hang on the wall and be appreciated as art. And that was that was sort of revolutionary at the time, and that was what ACN embraced early on.
My step into Art Cloth Network was actually through Claire Ben, taking her classes, her studio time, both in the United States and over in Europe to further explore when we did independent studies, but working as whole cloth art. And again, I started with the dyes, and again, I followed her path, and now I'm working with the earth pigments. And now I believe that art cloth doesn't have to be just a one piece of fabric. It doesn't have to be cotton, linen, or fiber at all. I'm thinking, what if we turn it into metal? What if we start with wire and create that into our substrate? And that is creating a fiber or a fabric or a substrate, a base to work on.
Yeah.
And maybe we cut that up. It doesn't have to stay as one solid large piece, which was my initial understanding of what art cloth was. Let's do a 2 meter piece, hang it on the wall. There it is. Now, like you see behind me, I'm starting that way with that huge piece and creating it. And then I said, well, maybe I can do something a little bit different.
That to me, that's a big deal for an artist um, to develop especially a recognized distinctive voice and then not become trapped in it. What I see behind you in your studio, I am I'm certainly curious about how, but I'm much more interested in why and what, and like what inspired you, what life journey brought you to this
Right.
point. So I
And,
think that, please go ahead.
oh no, I was going to say, for example, when our shows are put on, and that's, part of us being together as a group is that we like to show our work. And we have the opportunity to do that. We have calls for entry every year. And for example, the show that we've got in Illinois right now, to see what's up on those walls and hanging from the ceiling is so incredibly diverse from what
Yeah,
it would have been 25 years ago.
yeah. Is this art cloth, which may be a good segue to where ACN is today,
Well, and I think it's really
wrestling
true.
with our definitions.
It is. We are talking about that right now, about celebrating the artist and the individuality and supporting their voice and being a supportive collective for
Yeah,
the artist and valuing these different creative expressions, that it doesn't just have to be on a flat piece of white fabric that we got on a bolt from the store. But I think of Art Cloth Network, as we're just starting to talk about
yeah,
looking at the future, thinking about Art Cloth Network as a platform to share our work with each other in a really strong, safe community, a collaborative community, and with really diverse traditions of
yeah,
where we're coming from, as you were talking about one of our former members, and where we want to go. Like it's wide open is what I'm thinking right now.
yeah. I think it's um, important to acknowledge that there are people in the group whose work finds its completion as a quilted surface, but we're not a quilting guild. There
Right.
are people who are doing 3D textile work, but we're not primarily focused on creating sculptural pieces that are presented on a pedestal. Um, there are people who are still creating whole cloth. Others are sewing cloth together. It's, but how do, like I think of, if I wanted to exhibit with a bunch of painters, could we all sit around and talk about our artwork? Yes, certainly we could. We could talk about the experience and the journey as artists. Seeing fiber, textile, um, things that reference textile, all together in a gallery is extremely powerful. And thinking about those artists together in conversation is extremely powerful. It's supportive. We get each other. Um, and I'm heartened that we're moving beyond technical discussions.
And it was a starting point, right? It was a
Yeah, it
starting.
was. I appreciate your work, and you and I have had interesting conversations about how you prepare the fiber to accept the pigments and how you prepare the pigments, and I find it fascinating. But then we have conversations about the motivation and the form and the color.
So if you're a textile artist, you could be mid-career or an emerging artist, and you've built your skill set up, but now you have your own voice. All these wonderful skills that you've learned have now turned into something somebody else would recognize as you made this. It's not you took a class from so and so and this is what I made. It's now your interpretation of all these amazing skills that you've learned. So, you know, that's the person that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Join
And I have
ACN.
found that ACN has provided me a place to continue to develop that voice and to evolve and
Mhm.
have that voice change in a supportive environment.